We're working for you and taking a deep dive into your drinking water and the forever chemicals in some tri-state communities exceeding state limits. Our Hayden Donaldson breaks down the growing concerns over PFAS.
Do you know what's in your tap water? Health experts across the country are sounding the alarm over PFAS. Polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as PFAS, is a group of several thousand human-made chemicals manufactured for their oil and water-resistant properties. They can show up everywhere, from the air around us to dust and water, even showing up in our foods like fruits, vegetables, and milk from dairy cows. These so-called forever chemicals are made of chains of carbon and fluoride linked together, and they don't break down easily under natural conditions. An issue Illinois Environmental Toxicology Program Manager Brian Cook says is only becoming more concerning over the last few years.
Back when we were looking at PFAS 10, 15 years ago, the standards or the drinking water limits were much higher. They weren't enforceable, but the health guidelines that were developed were much higher. And as scientists continue to research PFAS, we're finding more sensitive effects at lower concentrations.
Right now, there's more than 5,000 different types of these forever chemicals, but the most common are PFOA, PFAS, and Gen X, and they may not be dangerous in the short term, but long-term exposure can pose a number of different health issues. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency says studies show the chemicals can increase the risk of kidney and testicular cancers, high cholesterol, and developmental problems for young children. But as Cook explains, there are ways to reduce your exposure.
It includes activated carbon, reverse osmosis, and if you're a concerned homeowner who has PFAS in their water, you can install an activated carbon filter or reverse osmosis filter at your kitchen sink, for example, or your refrigerator, if that's where you get your water for drinking purposes.
In recent years, local communities like Quincy, Nauvoo, Hamilton, and Warsaw all saw PFAS levels above the state's limits in 2020 and 2021. You may have seen the warnings in your mailbox, notifications that are required to prevent prolonged exposure for residents. In Quincy, Public Works Director Jeffrey Conti says the city hasn't seen any samples exceed the limit in over 3 years.
Because it's a very low level contaminant, and because it's a contaminant that accumulates in the body, it's really the long-term exposure that's a problem. So like I said, we haven't had any exceedances over the limit in over 3 years. And the EPA looks at the exposure on an annual average.
It's a best case scenario, Conti says, though it's still important to be cautious.
For right now, we are underneath the limit. There's no guarantee that that's going to stay the same. But for now, it's been 3 years since we've been over the limit, so it's a good thing. We hope to stay on the limit.
Now, Cook and the EPA are calling for the public to take the risk seriously, even if the long-term data about what we can expect is unclear.
Seems like the general public still hasn't become aware of PFAS yet, so my hope is that people increase their knowledge of PFAS, understand the potential exposure routes, and take the steps they can take to reduce their exposure.
Working for you, I'm Hayden Donaldson.
Well, we've got a ton of coverage on PFAS chemicals over the years, from our local coverage to Spotlight on America's investigative reports. You can check out all of that coverage on our website. Just type PFAS into the search bar.